Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We review anything and everything. And first off, this figure is way too big. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the figure out of the way. We're gonna take a look at the box as I introduce this figure, and then we're gonna put the figure in the place where the box is, so we have a little more clearance to be further away from the figure. So this is the Super Colossal Mosasaurus for the Jurassic World line. Now, what's interesting is this was always supposed to be a figure that's super big. I in the past had, and later on I'll do a comparison separate video of this with the Ocean Defender one, which I believe was the first one, and also, or if it wasn't the first one, it was like the second iteration of that one, but of that same size scale. Now there is a newer one that came out for Jurassic World that is closer to that size scale, but I think it might be smaller, while this one is even bigger. So, but since I have that Ocean Defender one, we'll take a look at that one in comparison in a separate video. In the meantime, this is super colossal, along with how you have the big T-Rex and those other ones that are super colossal size. But unlike those, this actually fits, because this as a super colossal size fits in terms of scale with like the other regular dinosaurs to a degree. That Ocean Defender, I think, actually is probably a more better scale, and this one's a little jumbo. Also too, I think this one's body proportion is a little off compared to the Ocean Defender, but we'll get into that when we get into that comparison. This one has a lot of head size, and the rest of the body feels like the body size is a little less proportionate, I think. But nonetheless, this also has that feature where you can open up the mouth, throw figures in it, and they come out from the stomach area. It doesn't come with any miniature dinosaurs though, unlike different sets. This one doesn't do that, but nonetheless, it is it has that feature to be able to do that. So we're gonna get into the figure now. Let me remove the box. So first, I'm just gonna start with saying this figure makes no sense. In terms of the size, it's just huge. I can't even manage it at all. So this is probably one of the worst places for me to be filming, because it is just huge and I just can't even get it to really even display here. So I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to move things out the way. I move my plant out the way. It is just huge. So try to work with me here. I'm not going to be able to get the whole thing in scope, unfortunately. All right. I was able to kind of pull it into a more wider view, and I can kind of get it. I didn't want to get too much of the other random background stuff. So we're kind of able to make this fit. It is very long. It's a very long figure. It is very large. Now, this is a regular Jurassic World figure man, and you could see how he scales next to this thing. It is crazy. This thing is huge. The head is very huge. We're gonna get into it. Like I said, it's just a lot. It's very overwhelming. So link is gonna be description down below for you guys to purchase on Amazon if you guys are interested. And it might only be available at Target. I am not too sure at the moment of the timing of the recording of this video. Now, there is the internal for the mouth. And what's nice is that now that we're in that space where all figures now have the rubberized teeth, it's getting that same upgrade though the rest of them do. Very individualized, which is nice. The upper teeth is that jaw area. They didn't forget about that, so that's nice too. It's a very huge pit into the stomach. I don't know how well you could see it down there, but it's very much, like I said, just a pit into the stomach. So yeah. And the human guy can go in very easy and fit outside of the stomach. If I can get this to open. Now, I don't have nails, but it's not as easy as I have my kids have a Colossal Giganotosaurus, and that one feels like an easier tab in my opinion. But yes, this is huge. It could fit a bunch of human figures. You could definitely imagine it jumping out of the water and grabbing up an Indominus or any like-sized dinosaurs. It has rotation on the head to give it a bit of an angle. When you put it together, you end up putting together all the fins and the tail. And yeah, I think it definitely is. If you just want the extra large scale for a Mosasaurus, I think that it works. I do think it's a little oversized. I mean, in some scenes, the Mosasaurus is superly exaggerated in size. So this might fit with the Jurassic World version, where I think that in Jurassic World Rebirth version, where I think in Jurassic World, the movie, like the first Jurassic World movie, I don't think the Mosasaur with it was in this scale of size. I think it was more closer proportionate to the Ocean Defender version, which, like I said before, I will do a separate comparison on. Now you can see here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, the colors and how they did the paint job. It goes from the snout of the mouth. Let me close the mouth. From the snout all the way up to the middle point of the back, and then you have the light brown stripings. You have these huge scoots as well. This mouth is going to get loose because I can already see it happening already, so just be mindful of that. And then you have the brown coming down here, but because this is a different plastic, this is not as shiny, but you still have the brown coming all the way down. But where you have brown on top and green here, and this is a little bit more solid with brown with more striping as it gets low here, what you have is this becomes, at this portion here, the brown comes here and then comes down. And now all this, you may not be able to see it as well in the camera, becomes brown here. The green cuts off because it dips like that, and all this below is green, that's brown. The brown comes like that. The whole bottom of this is now brown, and then comes out to the tail, which has the black striping on here, which gets a little bit more of that polished paint again, like it was over here. I mean, on that side, I'm sorry you guys can't see because off camera, and then continues on to the tip of the tail here. It's a little bit dusty on there, but yeah, so definitely, I will definitely give it a lot of points for that paint job, because everyone knows when it comes to Jurassic World, Jurassic Park figures, they almost never do paint out to the tail. And in fact, in this case, they put more paint to the tail, because where the base color of the green stops, they started adding more brown and then going into the black. So that actually is a very huge plus. It's just a magnificent figure. There's not a lot to go into it because it's very basic. Doesn't have any kind of extra play features other than the swallowing mechanism. But what we are going to do is just measure it out to see that it is that 36 inches long. And I want to say that's roughly about there. And I'm getting close. What I'm seeing visually looks closer to like 38 for the very tip of the tail. It's about like 38 inches long to the tip of the snout. So that's what I'm seeing. So I'm going to do my conversion that I always do within scale of these type of figures. And that is 60.8 feet is the scale of this figure, within line with 3 3/4 inch size. I come up with that value by making 3 3/4 inch, 6 feet tall. And then from there, you do the conversion to make this math work. And you're looking at over 60 feet long, which puts it at probably roughly where those estimates would be at, because it's supposed to be a little bit longer than a T-Rex. Now, granted, most of the figures of the T-Rexes are not as long as it could be, which is supposed to be about 40 feet. The Hammond Collection one is the closest to that range. It's just shy, where if it was 25 inches long, it would have been 40 feet, but it's 24 inches long. I thought it was 25 when I first measured it, before I measured it, and then it was 24 inches. But that's the closest in terms of the length. This is 60 feet long in terms of its scaling, 60.8 feet long. So yes, it definitely is within that range, where the head of this, you could imagine it wrapping its entire mouth over the body of a T-Rex size or Indominus size creature, and then just taking it into the water like it did in the movie. So definitely, though the color scheme on this is of the newer movie, obviously you could use it for your Jurassic World setup if you had the Jurassic World setup you were trying to make a display of. So anyway, you guys, as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.